Some lives leave behind more than achievements. They leave memories that continue to comfort, inspire, and move generations. From music and sport to ballet, diplomacy, finance, art, and adventure, these remarkable individuals each shaped the world in their own unforgettable way. Their journeys were filled with courage, talent, determination, and moments that touched countless lives. Today, we remember 6 people whose stories remind us that greatness can take many forms, and that a meaningful life is measured not only by what we accomplish, but also by the kindness, passion, and legacy we leave. May their memories continue to shine brightly. Dolly Parton, 1946-2026. Dolly Parton was born on January 19, 1946, and died on August 25, 2026, aged 80. Rising from a poor Appalachian childhood in Tennessee, she became one of the most recognizable and beloved figures in country music. One of 12 children, Parton learned to sing from her mother and performed at the Grand Ole Opry at just 13. After moving to Nashville, she transformed experiences from her upbringing into songs that would become timeless classics, including Jolene, I Will Always Love You, Joshua, and Coat of Many Colors. Her career eventually crossed into pop music, film, business, and philanthropy. Parton appeared in major films including 9 to 5 and Steel Magnolias, while her music career produced top 10 albums across 7 different decades. She received 10 Grammy Awards and numerous country music honors, and was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 1999. Beyond entertainment, her greatest legacy may be the lives she touched through generosity. She opened Dollywood and established the Dollywood Foundation, while her Imagination Library distributed more than 78 million free books to children around the world. She also received the National Medal of Arts and Kennedy Center honors. After experiencing health difficulties, Parton was diagnosed with cancer and endured a brief battle with the disease. She died at Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center surrounded by loved ones. A private funeral was planned for immediate family. Her music, generosity, humor, and extraordinary ability to inspire others made her a singular figure whose influence will continue for generations. Dolly Parton gave the world songs, laughter, opportunity, and hope, and her memory deserves to be held with profound respect and gratitude. Christina Gascoigne, 1939-2026. Christina Mary Ditchburn was born on February 1, 1939, in Baghdad, and died on August 14, 2026, aged 87. She was an Arabist, photographer, ceramicist, and adventurer whose remarkable life unfolded alongside her husband, the celebrated presenter and writer Bamber Gascoigne. Her childhood exposed her to the Middle East, and as a teenager in 1958, she experienced the Lebanon crisis while visiting relatives in the mountains above Beirut. She later recorded the experience with striking descriptions of the sounds of fighting and uncertainty surrounding the family. Christina studied Arabic and Persian at Girton College, Cambridge, where she met Bamber. They married in 1965 and spent decades sharing extraordinary adventures. Together they drove a Peugeot 404 through the Khyber Pass and into India while researching Bamber's book, The Great Moguls. Their adventurous spirit eventually led them to West Horsley Place in Surrey, which Bamber inherited in 2014. They sold possessions from the estate and used the proceeds to help restore the historic mansion and create a 700-seat opera house that became the home of Grange Park Opera. Christina also developed a distinguished career as a photographer. Her work appeared in the Christians and Castles of Britain, while she also made and sold ceramic pots from a studio overlooking the Thames. She and Bamber established St. Helena Press, producing editions of rare prints. Her contribution extended beyond her own artistic work, as she accompanied and supported Bamber throughout countless creative and intellectual projects. The information provided does not state the cause of Christina Gascoigne's death. She leaves behind a remarkable story of curiosity, creativity, partnership, and adventure. Her life was defined by a willingness to explore, create, and embrace the unexpected, and she deserves to be remembered with admiration and affection. Nancy Kissinger, 1934-2026. Nancy Sharon McGuinness was born on April 13, 1934, and died on August 20, 2026, aged 92. She became best known as the wife and steadfast companion of Henry Kissinger, but her own life included education, research, public affairs, philanthropy, and decades of involvement with cultural and social institutions. Raised in White Plains, New York, she attended Good Counsel Academy and the Master's School before graduating from Mount Holyoke in 1955. She taught history before moving into the world of policy and international affairs. Nancy met Henry Kissinger in 1964 while working with a task force connected to New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller. She later joined the Rockefeller Brothers Fund and became Director of International Studies for Rockefeller's Commission on Critical Choices for Americans. She also served as a trustee of Rockefeller University. When Henry entered the highest levels of American government, Nancy accompanied him through an extraordinary period of international diplomacy. They married in Arlington on March 30, 1974. Nancy traveled with him across South America, the Middle East, Africa, Russia, and elsewhere, witnessing some of the most consequential diplomatic efforts of the era. She accompanied him to meet leaders including Mao Zedong, and was present during the years surrounding the Helsinki Accords and his international negotiations. Away from diplomacy, Nancy became increasingly involved in philanthropy, supporting medical, educational, cultural, and canine causes. She was also a prominent figure in New York and Washington social life, and remained fiercely protective of her husband. Henry described her in his memoirs as someone whose advice and love served as his conscience. She hosted celebrations marking his centenary in 2023 and remained beside him until his death later that year. The provided account does not state Nancy Kissinger's cause of death. She is survived by her stepdaughter and stepson. Nancy Kissinger leaves behind a legacy of loyalty, intelligence, philanthropy, and quiet strength, and her life deserves to be remembered with dignity and respect. Sir Billy Boston, 1934-2026. Sir Billy Boston was born on August 6, 1934, in Butetown, Cardiff, and died on August 24, 2026, aged 92. He became one of the greatest players in rugby league history and made history himself as the first rugby league player ever to receive a knighthood. Born the sixth of 11 children to a Sierra Leonean father and a Welsh-Irish mother, Boston originally dreamed of representing Wales in rugby union. His extraordinary talent became impossible to ignore. After playing for Cardiff Internationals, Neath, and Pontypridd, Boston attracted the attention of rugby league clubs while serving in the Royal Signals. He joined Wigan in 1953 and immediately established himself as an exceptional try scorer. Across 487 appearances for Wigan, he scored a record 478 tries. His overall career total reached 571 tries, making him the highest British try scorer in rugby league history. Boston won 3 Challenge Cup finals at Wembley and represented Great Britain internationally. On the 1954 tour of Australia and New Zealand, he scored a remarkable 36 tries in 18 matches. He later added 22 tries on the 1962 Lions tour and scored 24 tries in 31 internationals for Great Britain. His explosive pace, strength, balance, intelligence, and ability to run through or around defenders made him one of the most complete players of his generation. His journey also carried historical significance. Boston believed his opportunities in Welsh rugby union had been limited because of his race. He became part of a generation of black Welsh players who found greater opportunity in rugby league after facing barriers in union. Decades later, his achievements were recognized through induction into multiple halls of fame, statues in Wigan and Cardiff, an MBE, and ultimately his knighthood in 2025. In his later years, Boston suffered from vascular dementia, but retained his love for rugby league and continued attending Wigan matches. The information provided does not state his specific cause of death. He died only weeks after his wife Joan and is survived by 2 daughters and a son. Sir Billy Boston broke barriers while building an extraordinary sporting legacy, and his name will forever stand among the giants of rugby league. Pauline Claydon, 1922–2026. Pauline Elsie Claydon was born on October 12, 1922, in Lewisham, South London, and died on July 21, 2026, aged 103. She was a distinguished ballet dancer whose career unfolded during one of the most difficult periods in British history. Her talent brought her to Covent Garden at only 16, and she went on to become an important member of the Sadler's Wells Ballet. In 1939, Anthony Tudor selected the young dancer to perform ballet sequences in productions including Turandot, Ada, and Parsifal. She later joined the London Ballet and continued performing during the Blitz. Even as bombs fell across London, the dancers carried on with performances. She recalled hearing bombs whistle toward the theater and feeling the building shake before continuing with the music and choreography. In 1942, she joined Sadler's Wells Ballet, where she worked with legendary figures including Robert Helpmann and Frederick Ashton. She became Ophelia in Helpmann's Hamlet and created the role of the suicide in Miracle in the Gorbals. Ashton cast her in numerous important works, including The Sleeping Beauty, Les Sirenes, Scenes de Ballet, Cinderella, Tiresias, Dante Sonata, Daphnis and Chloe, and Homage to the Queen. Although she rarely danced the leading classical roles, Ashton coached her in Giselle, which she performed 4 times at Covent Garden. He later praised her interpretation as one of the finest he had seen. Her career also included roles created by Ninette de Valois, John Cranko, and Andre Howard. Claydon retired from the Sadler's Wells Company in 1956 to start a family. She later taught at a local dance school in Purley and eventually retired to Devon with her husband, Major Howard Gamble. Her meticulous records of every performance she danced are now preserved in the Royal Opera House archives. The provided information does not state the cause of her death. She is survived by her daughter and son. Pauline Claydon's extraordinary longevity allowed her to carry the memory of ballet's wartime generation into the modern era, and her dedication to dance deserves lasting admiration. Jim Levis, 1971–2026. James Paul Levis was born on February 18, 1971, in London, and died on July 23, 2026, aged 55. He became one of the most influential figures in Britain's corporate and government bond markets, serving as head of fixed income at M&G, where he oversaw a portfolio worth more than £130 billion. After achieving the highest national mark in geography A-level, Levis studied economics at Manchester University and graduated in 1992. He joined the Bank of England as a trainee on Black Wednesday, the dramatic day in September 1992, when the pound crashed out of the European exchange rate mechanism. He eventually found his professional niche in the bank's gilts office. 5 years later, he met Theodora Zemek, head of M&G's developing fixed income team, and joined the firm. There he became a charismatic and highly respected voice in the bond world. He helped launch the Bond Vigilantes blog in 2006 and later hosted the Uncle Jim's World of Bonds podcast. His greatest gift was making complicated financial subjects understandable to ordinary investors and financial professionals. At M&G, Levis became an inspirational mentor and champion of social mobility. From a small team of 4, he helped build an international group of around 40 analysts and managers across London, Chicago, Singapore, and Paris. He was particularly proud of his analysis concerning the possibility of central banks writing off government bonds purchased through quantitative easing, as well as his examination of the 2022 Truss-Corton mini-budget. But his interests extended far beyond finance. He loved David Bowie, the Manchester music scene, and Nottingham Forest Football Club. His unconventional personality made colleagues describe him as a modern, creative figure rather than a traditional city professional. In 2024, he retired from M&G and began a master's degree in art history at the Courtauld Institute, focusing on German modernism between the wars. Levis died from cancer at the age of 55. He was married to Isabel Perkins, whom he met at the Bank of England, and they had 2 sons, Stanley and Frank. Jim Levis brought intelligence, warmth, creativity, and humanity to a world often considered difficult and distant. His influence on colleagues, investors, and younger professionals will remain part of his lasting legacy, and he deserves to be remembered with great respect. May the memories of Dolly Parton, Christina Gascoigne, Nancy Kissinger, Sir Billy Boston, Pauline Claydon, and Jim Levis remain a source of inspiration to everyone who knew their work, admired their achievements, or was touched by the lives they lived. Each followed a different path, yet each left something behind that cannot easily be measured. Music, art, courage, knowledge, sporting excellence, generosity, and inspiration. Their stories remind us that a life does not need to follow one particular path to matter. What matters is the mark we leave on others. May they all be remembered with dignity, gratitude, and peace.